My name is Karina and welcome to the Karina Chronicles. In this video I'm going to put all my 5-star ratings since 2018 in a jar and going to sacrifice some books, some of my favorite books of all time, because some other books are just a little bit better and I'm really nervous for it. So this is my Save One, Drop One challenge video. Okay, I'm actually really nervous about this video, which makes no sense because don't worry, there's literally no consequence to me sacrificing these books. They will just stay in my bookcase. They will not be on hold or something. But just the fact that I need to choose between my favorites is already hurting me. So what did I do? This Save on Drop Run video idea is, by the way, thought of by Jesse the Reader. I will leave his channel down below. And before that, it was really popular in the K-pop industry. So people chose their favorite K-pop bands, which are usually quite huge, and then they needed to like choose between band players or something. I don't really know how it was supposed to be, but Jesse the Reader made it a book thing. So in this little mug, I have all my 5-star ratings since I've been reviewing books. So that is 37. And out of that, I'm going to grab 20, I don't know which ones. And every time I will have 2 and I have to choose which one I save and which one I will drop. So which one I will sacrifice. And really nervous because these are 5-star ratings. So I actually adored these books. I don't really give 5 stars that often. Usually when they're just really good, I give them 4 stars. So these are just my absolute favorite. And I'm really nervous, but I'm also really excited to do this challenge with you. I already want to let you know, please leave down in the comments if you disagree with me and if you want to save another book, because I would feel happy if my favorites get like saved by other people because I can't take care of them anymore. So please let me know. And also, if you don't agree at all with any decisions, I like to know, because I think this could give some discussions. Me dropping books. I also think, okay, that's the last thing I'm going to say in the introduction. I'm just nervous, as you can probably tell. But I also think I'm going to decide not purely on enjoyment, because obviously I enjoyed all these books. Otherwise I wouldn't have given them 5 stars. But if I get a book that is high value, because I think everyone should read it, together with a book that is more like a guilty pleasure, I think I will go for the book that is important, even though it might not have been the same kind of enjoyment. I might have felt bad or sad afterwards, but I know, like, I am pretending that I'm sacrificing the book so the book wouldn't exist anymore, and some books are just more important that they exist. Okay, that was the introduction. Now let's start with this challenge. So let's go with the first book. It's so exciting. Okay, I have one. It is, I hope you can read it, I think not, but I will put them on the screen anyway. But this is 1984 by George Orwell, which is already one of my all-time favorites. So that is promising. Against The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. Okay, that is so not comparable to each other. What is this already? This is already very difficult. But The Queen's Rising is just YA fantasy, I would say. And I was so surprised by how well it was handled and how interesting the characters were, and that not all the other characters that were like bad guys were also very toxic, and the main character was not surrounded by only toxic people, which happens a lot in YA fantasy, but it couldn't compete with 1984, which is, if you don't know, it was like more a science fiction dystopian back in the days, and a lot of things are predicted very well for our society now. Big Brother is Watching You has come from 1984. I think it's one of the most important books from recent history. I wouldn't sacrifice this book for a lot of other books, but definitely not for a YA fantasy, even though I really like The Queen's Rising. But The Queen's Rising will burn. So painful. So that was already two very different genres to each other compared, but okay. Next pair will start with Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which, if you don't know, my channel is partly named after the Lunar Chronicles, of which this is the first part. And it is also mentioned it's also named the Carina Chronicles because that just sounds really nice, in my opinion. And chronicles are, of course, very often related to books and stuff. And the Narnia Chronicles are also nice, and there are so many nice chronicles. So, but the Lunar Chronicles was my inspiration because I was reading it right then. So I do love this series. And it's up against The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, I don't know. This was what I was afraid of. No. But, I love them equally. Please, no. Okay. So if you don't know, Cinder is a Cinderella retelling. Where Cinder is a cyborg, so partly robot. And, well, weird things happen when she meets the Crown Prince. And she apparently is like caught up in this big war. And it is really nice. Every part of this series is a new retelling. And we follow a new character, but the other characters are still in the story. And Cinder is the first part. I really liked it. And The Song of Achilles is also a retelling, but then about the Greek mythology, the Trojan War, and then Achilles, the hero in there. I have to say that The Song of Achilles was my favorite read of 2021. And for Cinder, I know some books that I already thought better that year. So if I have to choose, I fear that Cinder, even though my channel is named after the Lunar Chronicles, needs to go. But maybe there are more parts of the series in here. Maybe I can save some parts of the series. But Cinder is going to go. This is so hard. Okay, next one. This is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Symes, which is a very nice YA contemporary coming of age story. I really like it. I still need to read the sequel. Up against Cress by Marissa Meyer, the third part in the Lunar Chronicles. Okay, no, but this one is easy now. I really love Aristotle and Dante, but I'm so happy that I can save the Lunar Chronicles. So no, Cress is the retelling of Rapunzel. It's my favorite part of the Lunar Chronicles, so it's going to Aristotle and Dante is going to have to go. So this one is easiest, although I loved that book, but it felt easy anyway. Okay, next. Okay, I'm so happy with this. I am happy I could save the Lunar Chronicles. Next one is Anxious People by Frederick Beckman. I think I'm not going to show you these anymore. I put them on the screen anyway, but it was Anxious People by Frederick Beckman. Up against Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castel. Oh, so incomparable. Again. Spellslinger is again a YA fantasy, a very nice one about magic, where the main character actually, instead of being the special snowflake, being able to do magic, is not being able to do magic. And It's about a very weird society that is built upon magic, where it's really hard for him that he is not able to do as well as others. Where Anxious People is more a fictional story about mental health and how everyone has their own problems, but life is still worth it. It's more like a pep talk for us all, and it's really funny. So if we get to the part which is more important for the world to have, it's definitely Anxious People. But if we look at enjoyment, I still think it would be Anxious People. So Spellslinger is really nice, but I haven't really picked up part 2, so it wasn't that good that I can't live without it. So Spellslinger needs to go. Anxious People is going to stay. It's very, very clear to me. Next one. I already sacrificed 4 of my favorite books. So hard. Okay. De Koning van Katoren van Jan Terlouw. This is a Dutch book and it is my favorite children's book of all time. It literally is. Oh, it's going already. I don't know what could be this. So I'm actually now grabbing a book that will just be sacrificed, probably. What could be this? I don't know. Death's End by Cixin Liu. That is so incomparable again. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm torturing myself. Okay, so Koning van Katoren is my favorite children's book of all time. It is a book about a guy that wants to become king, or actually his surrounding is like, you would be a very good king. Maybe you should, like, the old king has died, so they need a new one. He didn't have any children, so no one could take over. So they want a new person, a random person, but to become king, he needs to fulfill some assignments. And all these assignments are, of course, metaphors for the real world, but they are also very fantastical. So as a child, I loved it because it was so exciting and so original. But as an adult, I also really love it because it has so many deeper meanings that are so nicely put into a very cool story. And it's up against Death's End by Cixin Liu, which is the last part of the Remembrance of Earth Past trilogy. And that is my favorite science fiction series of all time. It's again a series, so it could be possible that I could still save the series. I don't think Death's End is the best part. The second part is the best part. I would be really sad if this incredible series doesn't exist anymore. But it can't compete to a children's book that has so many important messages and still can be like the most fantastical thing ever. So Death's End needs to go. Okay, I need a break. So we have 5 more pairings to go, 10 more books, and I'm getting really nervous because I've already sacrificed so many nice books. I really hope that I will get the Dark Forest, so that is the second book in the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, so that I can save the series. But we will see. The next book on here is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Again, a series that has multiple copies in here. But this is my supposedly favorite book of all time. So what will it be up against? I am really curious. A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. Okay, that is 2 adult fantasies against each other. So it is easier to compare these two, and that actually also makes it easier. Although I loved A Darker Shade of Magic, I obviously gave it 5 stars. A Game of Thrones is my favorite book of all time, and if it would be up against another genre, then it might have been difficult, but these are 2 adult fantasies and A Game of Thrones is the best. So, A Darker Shade of Magic needs to go. That one was easy. Finally, an easy one. Thank you so much. Next book is Circe by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller could maybe survive this whole test. Both of her books are in here, and The Song of Achilles is already saved. But it is up against The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is a difficult one. Circe is again a mythological retelling. It's about Kirke, which is a witch. And she is kind of the bad guy, the bad girl in a lot of mythology stories, but you never really see something out of her perspective, only people visiting her island, because she lives on her own island. And this book is following her perspective and how she became that way, and if she is even like the bad guy. And it is so cool. I read this book this year and it's still my #1 book of the year. It hasn't been surpassed yet, although I read it quite in the beginning of the year. So it could become my favorite book of this year, which would be fun because last year was The Song of Achilles. So Madeline Miller might be one of my favorite authors ever. But it is hard because it is against The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which is a YA contemporary novel about the Black Lives Matter movement, and also, the main character sees how her friend gets shot to the head by a police officer, and she needs to decide if she's going to protest and do something about it, or if she's going to stay safely behind the walls and forget everything that has happened. And this is such a beautiful book. It's such beautifully written YA that has such an important message, which makes this difficult because Circe is one of my favorite books. It's written so well, so lyrical, and I definitely enjoyed it more than The Hate You Give, but we're also sacrificing books here. And The Hate You Give is not a book that should be sacrificed. This is not like an error in the video. I'm literally silent because I thought that Circe would probably win from every book in here. But I cannot sacrifice The Hate You Give because it needs to exist. So with the idea that at least The Song of Achilles survived and Madeline Miller will probably be able to write other books, I think we could live without Circe, even though it's my favorite read of the year and I enjoyed it more than The Hate You Give. Because The Hate You Give needs to exist. So, with a lot of heartache, I'm going to sacrifice Circe by Madeline Miller. Oh. I can't survive without Circe. I think I might just need to stop here. Well, at least we have another favorite, of course. A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, which is the second part in A Song of Ice and Fire series. I already saved the Game of Thrones. I wouldn't be that mad if I sacrificed this one. It's, lol. It's up against A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin, which is it the third or the fourth? It's the third part. So the second against the third part of Game of Thrones. I don't remember that well what happened in which one, actually. But I do remember that when I was a child, I didn't like the second part and I did like the third part. So something about the third part is probably better. So that means that I'm going to sacrifice the second part. So now we have the first and the third part in still existing and the second part doesn't exist anymore. Well, this one was not that hard. Okay. Talking about important books. Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Well, whatever could be a good match for this. The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I think she's called Catherine, right? Well, that one is easy. The Bear and the Nightingale is a Russian folklore retelling. Quite a dark fantasy, actually. And it is really nice. Really slow, though. And really complicated, but really nice. And I definitely need to read the rest of the trilogy. Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank is the diary of Anne Frank. A non-fiction, obviously. Anne Frank was a very young girl in the Second World War who needed to hide and take shelter for being Jewish. And this is such an important book, but also a very beautiful book, and sometimes even funny, but obviously most of the times very sad. That book needs to exist. So The Bear and the Nightingale can go. That is no problem to me. I liked the book. I enjoyed it, but well, it looks so bad. All these broken books on here. So yeah, okay. Next book is The Dark Forest by Cixin Liu, which I really, really, really wanted to save. So, up against The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Okay, I really love that book. It is a science fiction novel, second part of a series, my favorite science fiction series, against the first part of a fantasy novel, The Bone Shard Daughter. And I read The Bone Shard Daughter very recently and I really liked it. I was surprised by how much I liked this book, but it cannot compete with my favorite science fiction series. So I'm sacrificing The Bone Shard Daughter. The Dark Forest can stay, and for that, the Remembrance of Earth Past trilogy is saved in some way. So, that is something. Okay, and now the next one. Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. This is probably the last pairing that I'm going to do. So this is the last book that I'm going to grab. Will it be a hard decision? Or will it not? Er is geen vorm waarin ik pas bij Erna Sassen. This is such a weird comparison. Breakfast of Champions is quite a classic. It is... What is it? It is kind of magical realism. Kind of contemporary. It is a lot of things in one. It was really funny. Although it was also meant really sad. It made me think of... Well, Anxious People made me think of Breakfast of Champions a bit. Really liked it, obviously. Er is geen vorm waarin ik pas is a Dutch book by Erna Sassen. It is a YA contemporary. Also about depression in some kind of way. Less funny, but more beautiful. And also maybe more important because it's for young people and talking about depression could be something really nice. But I think Breakfast of Champions is for a bigger audience and more important in that way. So I think I'm going to sacrifice Er is geen vorm waarin ik pas. Yeah. Okay. And by that I sacrificed 10 of my favorite books. They're laying here and I'm really hurting. I was in luck sometimes, like for the Lunar Chronicles and the Remembrance of Earth's Past and the Song of Ice and Fire series, which are 3 of my favorite series. I needed to sacrifice a book, but another book survived. So I am quite fine with that. I think the hardest one for me is that I sacrificed Circe. I thought that would be any other book in here. Literally, it's my favorite read of the year. And because it's this year, it's also very fresh in my mind. So that also makes it usually that you're like, oh, that book might be better, you know? So wouldn't think that I would sacrifice that one. But I did. That was the hardest part. I really like this Say One Drop One challenge. I think I succeeded. I dropped 10 books, but not really happy about it. Let me know if you would have made any other decisions, if you're okay with the books that I sacrificed that will not exist after this anymore. No, they will still exist, obviously, but if I would have a say in this, those 10 books would be sacrificed. Let me know what you would have thought, and also if you like this video concept idea. I know I'm very late to the Save One Drop One trend when it was going on, but I still really like to do it. So if you would like me to do it again someday, maybe later, or when I have some more 5-star ratings, so I can do different pairings, or maybe also for the 4-star ratings. Anyway, if you would like me to do this again, please let me know, maybe by liking the video, for example. If you subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell, you will be notified whenever I post a new video. I hope you'll have a lovely day filled with books, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! This was so exciting, and I was actually so nervous. I wanted to save all these books, and putting them against each other was also very ridiculous sometimes, but oh, I really liked this. I hope you did too.